Hello and welcome to my top 10 of 2011. Now I want to stress, it's very important that I say this, that this is my personal opinion of the best of 2011. And these are the top 10 of the movies that I've seen, and not what was released. You know, I haven't seen every movie. I'm sorry. This was a pretty hard list to make. 2011 wasn't the greatest year for movies, in my opinion. So I was really struggling to get this list up to a list standard. So let's just get right into it then. At number 10 is Melancholia by Lars von Trier. And if you know anything about Lars von Trier, is that he's not normal. He's very odd. I mean, not in a filmmaker aspect, but as a person. He couldn't even premiere his movie in person because he made a couple of off-color jokes about Hitler and racism in an interview. I don't know. The point is that he's just a very weird guy. But the best part about that is that I think very weird guys tend to make very good movies. Melancholia follows the usual kind of filmmaking that Lars usually does. He has a lot of very artistic, slow-motion shots. He's very into style, and he's more into making something pretty to look at than a movie to enjoy. And that's pretty much what Melancholia was. It was a lot of pretty images. It was filmed very well. There was a lot of cool cinematography, amazing visuals, but it was pretty boring. At number 9, I have Rango. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say. Rango, Mike, that's a children's movie. What are you, stupid? But I'm not. I actually really enjoyed Rango for a number of reasons. Number 1 being that it's probably the best looking CG animated movie that I've seen in years. As a fan of traditional animation, it's been kind of sad to see CG, like sterile CG, replace like real fluid animation. But Rango had a lot of work done to make it look really great. I mean, I could watch Rango with the sound off and enjoy it still. Surprisingly, Rango had a lot of really cool action scenes and a lot of really cool characters. So, I mean, there's really nothing negative that I can think to say about Rango. Number 8 is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Now, this is another a big, pleasant surprise for me. I really didn't go into this movie expecting a lot. I was like, Planet of the Apes prequel. Oh, look, there's monkeys. And The Rising. It actually turned out to be a surprisingly good movie. I was like, wow, that was a good movie. The only really negative thing that I would have to say about Rise of the Planet of the Apes is that it was marketed kind of weird. Even with the title of the movie, it was called Rise of the Planet of the Apes. All of the commercials showed monkeys destroying the city, and it really wasn't even that big of a scale in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It was really just a whole bunch of monkeys break out of a lab and they cause a ruckus on the way. I was kind of expecting, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. The apes take over. But I guess they're saving that for a sequel or something. Number 7 is David Fincher's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. When I heard that David Fincher was making a remake of the Dragon Tattoo series, I really wasn't all that thrilled. I had seen the original, didn't really blow me away. But I love David Fincher, so I was getting a little excited for it. And to my surprise, it was actually, in my opinion, better than the original. A lot better, actually. The original was really long and it really dragged out. It kind of seemed like they kind of forgot what they were doing at some parts in the movie, in the original. In the Fincher version, it really looks like they had a beginning, middle, and end structure. I really wasn't bored throughout any of it. And the soundtrack, of course, was amazing. David Finch is teaming up with Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. They can do no wrong, in my opinion. At number 6 is X-Men First Class. Now, when I heard they were making a prequel X-Men movie, I was pretty excited, only because that I thought that they had the chance again to do X-Men right. I don't think there's been a very good, faithful movie adaptation of the X-Men yet. And with First Class, I was like, oh, cool. It's a whole bunch of kids with powers. It's gonna be the X-Men team! But it turned out that the only main characters of the movie were Magneto and Xavier. And which it was kind of a good thing too, because Xavier and Magneto were magnificent. I wish they had just focused on them, and they just cut all the stuff out with the kids. Because in the end, the kids really didn't accomplish anything. Like, what did they do? They they helped stop a missile attack or something. It was really Magneto and Xavier who were doing all the legwork. Number 5 is Take Shelter. Now, I love Michael Shannon, and I was really excited that he was going to be in a movie where he goes crazy. As much as I like Take Shelter and all the acting and all the cinematography in it, I had one big major problem with it. I felt that the movie could have been at least 40 minutes shorter. Now, I know you're gonna think that's a lot. That's like half the movie. But that's exactly what I'm thinking, that the movie should have been a short film rather than a full feature-length movie. I found that there was a lot of times where it really was dragging, that there was nothing really picking up in the plot. It just kind of like disengaged me from the character and the stories and everything that was going on. But that's really my only major gripe with the movie. Everything else I thought was fantastic. At number 4, we have 50-50. Now, when 50-50 was coming out, this was another movie I really didn't have a lot of big expectations for, but I also didn't have low expectations for it. When I saw that the movie was starring Seth Rogen and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I just thought that it might be a little weird to have Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Seth Rogen doing a comedy together. I thought that it might clash a little weird. And it actually turned out that they were a pretty good team, a pretty good comedic team. But it also managed to be a little sad at times, but it didn't feel forced. It really felt like it was a natural reaction of just some normal guy getting cancer and then dealing with it with his chums. And number 3 is The Muppets. Now, I know a kid's movie again. Mike, what are you thinking? Let me explain. I've loved The Muppets growing up, ever since I was a kid. When I heard that a new Muppet movie was coming out, I was already sold. And to say that it met my expectations and surpassed them would be an understatement. I loved it. I couldn't believe how good this movie was. I was really afraid that the Muppets really wouldn't transition well over this huge gap of time that they've been away. But they really pulled one out of the park with this. At number 2, we have Kevin Smith's Red State. Red State was Kevin Smith's real first attempt at making something that really wasn't a comedy at all. And he did really well, in my opinion. Now, Red State really wasn't reviewed that well, from more of a general audience. Now, I admit it's not for everybody. There's a lot of very long scenes. One in particular is a long sermon scene that a lot of people really have a big gripe with, because it's the length of a real sermon. And it's pretty long, but I was pretty enjoyed throughout. I would say that Red State was probably one of the most intense thrillers I've seen in years. And at number 1 is Attack the Block. Now, I know throughout this list that I've said there's been a lot of really big surprises, because 2011, like I said, wasn't a very good year for me for movies. It was a lot of low expectations. And for Attack the Block, I really didn't have any expectations at all. I really didn't know what the movie was about. I didn't know if it was going to be good or not. I just kind of went to see this movie on a whim, and I loved it. It was amazing. Attack the Block had a better cast of characters, in my opinion, than Super 8. All of the kids didn't feel like they were written like a script. They felt like there was these real kids they plucked out of the ghettos of London, and they said, "Here, make a movie about aliens. We'll give you a whole bunch of money." I was really happy to learn that most of the effects in Attack the Block were practical. And I don't know if I've said this in other videos, but I love practical effects and I hate CG. CG is becoming something of like a crutch that a lot of filmmakers will use when they don't want to go all out and make something practical. And they're like, nah, let's just do it on the computer bot. Boop, 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 there's an explosion. Let's go home. But with the Attack the Block, all the aliens were real. Even the big Hulk and gorilla ones, they were just guys in suits. And I think that's just fantastic. You can really see how much work they put into a movie when they actually put work into a movie. And that really shows for me. And that's really what stood out for me in the Attack the Block. It was just a really well-made film, and on top of that, it was just really funny. And that's my top 10 of 2011. Like I said, I really kind of struggled with this list. This is my own personal opinion, and I didn't see every movie that came out in 2011, so don't skewer me with your wit about the movies that I missed. So let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything in my list, and let's hope that 2012 is a better year for movies, and that's pretty much it.